Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member Jay, and tonight we're going to be talking a little bit about Star Wars history, something in Star Wars timeline history, as well as getting excited for Ahsoka, right? Man, 1 week away. 1 week away, Ahsoka starts. So we're going to talk a little bit about Ahsoka tonight. So get your excitement on as far as that goes. Tell me what you're most excited about it. Um, Maybe what's your favorite episode that Ahsoka has been in, whether that be from the Tales of the Jedi, the Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian. Maybe it's something else. Books, other media that you've seen Ahsoka in. What is your favorite Ahsoka story? Um, I think I kind of gave away mine a couple weeks ago because I pulled from a crucial character pick from the Clone Wars. Was it last month, I believe? And I think that actually was my favorite Ahsoka episode because it really kind of was the first time that she kind of like became a leader in a sense, and you kind of you saw a little bit of foreshadowing of what she is now in the Mandalorian. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, let's let's see what's everybody up to lately. I know that we got some people coming into. We've had a lot of people getting on Star Cruiser lately. I've seen a lot of posts um, from a lot of returnees that I follow on social media, and I know we got some more coming back within the next week that I can't wait to possibly meet up with, maybe at Galaxy's Edge next Tuesday. So yeah, Star Cruiser is still going very strong all the way up until the end, and excited for the Muster 2 meetup that the Heroes of the Halcyon are putting on. If you didn't get a ticket, I'm so sorry, but I don't think they're going to be able to make it any bigger. But they were able to open it up for a little bit bigger of a group. And to all those that are going to be there, I hope I'm going to be there, and I hope to see you there because the last one was a lot of fun. And yeah, so I can't wait to be a part of that. So Pete, Ben, thank you for joining in tonight. Appreciate it. As always, you are here to support. Really appreciate that. With that muster meetup, by the way, I think I'm gonna do some. I don't know if you were on the Star Cruiser, you would have known that I gave out these little coins. And those were something that I just kind of put together as far as a little bit of swag, a token to be able to give out to passengers and crew. I think I might do something similar, but a little bit different. I think I might do some stickers this time. I don't know, for the muster meetup. So, yeah, probably similar to what the tokens look like, but maybe just a little bit more of a celebration of the Halcyon on it. Um, maybe the last date and I don't know, Halcyon forever, whatever. But we'll see. We'll see what I come up with. If not, I'll just order more of the chips and give those out, but maybe tweak those a little bit, make them a little bit different, so they're exclusive to the Muster meetup. So, um, but yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. But let's go ahead and set this off. We're gonna go ahead and do Today in Star Wars. I actually watched uh, the movie today that is represented through Today in Star Wars. And actually, there's a lot of things that happened in today in Star Wars history, but the focus today for me was the Star Wars The Clone Wars movie, which was the first animated Star Wars feature, the first and only animated Star Wars feature, actually. They've never done a feature film release of Star Wars since. I think it's just because it didn't really get too good reaction, and now we have Disney Plus, and it's a better platform for animation. So, and we're doing so much with live action now that I feel that you know I don't think animation we're going to get more Star Wars feature films. Really, the Clone Wars animated film, the movie, was was actually intended to be released as a story arc, but George Lucas decided to, I think it was 3 episodes basically, put together and go ahead and make that into a feature film. Kind of just like to set it off, get things going, and he felt that it was a good overall story, which I agree with. I mean, I wasn't too excited about it in the beginning, honestly. I didn't go run off and see it. I didn't really, coming off of the Star Wars micro series, animated micro series for the Clone Wars. I loved that style. I was really into that, and I was hoping they would do a little bit more in that direction. But so the whole change in style was a little bit new for me. So I didn't know really how I felt with it, so I didn't really see it when it first came out. I kind of held off on it. It didn't get really good reviews, and yeah, I kind of held. And but I did go see it in the theaters. It was in a smaller theater once I saw it, and honestly, I wasn't too happy with it at first. But as the series progressed and I started watching it, now I go back and I watch it again, and I watched it again today, and I love it. I love it. I enjoy it because Ahsoka has become one of my favorite characters, and it didn't take long for me to jump on the Ahsoka bandwagon. Honestly, I probably by the end of the first season, I was a fan of Ahsoka, and I really started to enjoy Ahsoka's story once we got to the end of the Clone Wars, and then really was excited when she came back in Rebels. So. Kurt joining in tonight. Oh, wow. It's nice to see Kurt joining in. Don't normally see you joining in, and I really appreciate that every time you come. Kurt talking about what Iger said recently. Yeah. Talking about the cost cutting. He even did mention a little bit of cutting with Star Wars, which is scary because I'm fearful that some of those motion pictures may not see development. But I really hope that at least the Mandalorian one and the Dawn of the Force that James Mangold is taking the helms on sees the light of day. I would be fine if we don't do the sequels for now. Maybe we hold off on that, but I don't know. I just have this feeling that that one's a definite, and I really don't. I really hope the other ones don't go. I mean, if they don't do the Mandalorian movie, maybe it'll just be in the form of a Disney Plus series special or something. Maybe a a 4-parter or something like that, where we get a little bit maybe more length of time, but it's budgeted a little bit less and made for television and not in the theater. I'd be fine with that if they split the Mandalorian arc up and made it a short Disney Plus series, rather than releasing it as a movie. I'd be fine with that. Katie joining in. Thank you so much, Katie, as well. Is usually here joining in as well, so I really appreciate it that. How did you feel about the Clone Wars when it first came out? Did you go see it in the theaters? Curious, would like to know your thoughts. Again, I was not on, I wasn't big into it then, and then now Clone Wars, and it became like my favorite series, and I really enjoy watching it. It's one of my go-tos, just like any of the animations, honestly, is really my go-tos. So as far as watching it, the later series are definitely when it got really good. Like season 5, I think is my favorite. I think. Yeah, the last season was just really good. Season 5 of like even Rebels. I mean, Rebels with season 5 was awesome as well. I was just watching some of those as well. So Pete saying we didn't see it in the theaters. We got the 3-part as soon as it dropped on DVD. Yeah. So yeah, I have it on DVD as well. I did buy it. So like I said, even though initially my thoughts weren't that great, I jumped on pretty quick with that bandwagon. So, yeah, the Clone Wars animated film. So yeah, that was 2008 was when that came out. August 15th, 2008 was when that dropped. It was also directed by Dave Filoni. So this was kind of like one of his first feature-length movies, directed. Lucasfilm Animation, Lucasfilm Limited produced it. Distributed by Warner Brother Pictures, which was really weird to have that be involvement. Kurt, I'm stuck on Clone Wars Season 4, having problems getting motivated to finish, even knowing how good Season 5 Season 7 is. Really? Season 4? Interesting. I'm trying to think of which episodes were in Season 4, but I'm actually watching an episode from Season 1 now, an Ahsoka episode, but we'll talk about why in a little bit later. But yeah, so again, Warner Brother Pictures distributed it. It was the first Star Wars movie not to be distributed by 20th Century Fox. I don't know why that was the case, and I agree with you. Movie was okay for me in the beginning. Now going back and watching it after watching everything, I enjoyed a little bit more now. But yeah, so you could tell it was 3 episodes kind of put together, though. Especially you could almost see where they would have cut it and like had the different episodes. But yeah, the story was by George Lucas. Um, any other notables? I mean, the normal voices: Matt Lanter as Anakin Skywalker, Ashley Eckstein as Ahsoka, James Arnold Taylor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Catherine Tabor as Padme, Tom Kane as Yoda, D. Bradley Baker, of course, as all of the clones. Ian Abercrombie was the voice of Emperor Palpatine, or Darth Sidious. Christopher Lee did the voice for Count Dooku. Samuel L. Jackson actually revisited his voice as Mace Windu, and Anthony Daniels revisiting with his voice for C-3PO. So a lot of the main voices coming in from the films doing that. And then Tom Kane also narrating the movie as well as he did. Music by Kevin Kiner, which we know is going to be doing the music for Ahsoka, which is exciting to actually see him do a live action, which is pretty amazing to be able to have him jump to that, and we'll be able to. I think he jumped in and did some of the music with the Mandalorian episodes with Ahsoka to kind of, work in that involvement to kind of get a feel for it, so that it has that Mando universe. Pete saying we were watching Ahsoka Essentials list and are near the end. Yeah, so that's actually why I have some of the episodes on right now. What paused you bad on the Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and Bad Batch Season 2? Paused you in a good way? Yeah, okay, yeah. I'm hoping that you're saying that, Kurt, that it paused you in a good way. You got caught up with the Bad Batch and really wanted to watch those. I'm hoping that's the case. Because the Bad Batch really did have once you got past the first couple episodes, I feel it really drew you in. And yeah, so, and then now going back, those episodes actually weren't really my favorites in the Clone Wars episodes, but now I go back and watch them, and I love them even more now that I've watched the Bad Batch, kind of getting that backstory. Kurt loving himself some BB. So you're a BB fan. Gotcha. I get you. I have mixed feelings on BB. He's not my favorite droid, but yeah, he's pretty awesome. It was definitely a cool new way to go. I have too much love for R2 to just knock BB as my favorite. He can't be my favorite because R2 is my favorite. So the actual release of it was the theatrical release to the media and everything was August 10th at Grauman's Egyptian Theater. And then August 15th was when it had its national release in the BB Bad Batch. Okay, yeah, that's right. I was going to say, I don't know how we went from how did we go from Bad Batch to BB and we weren't even talking about the sequel trilogy? That threw me off for a minute, but there we go. Yeah, Bad Batch makes more sense. You love your Bad Batch. I get you. Bad Batch is awesome. I was just playing, I think, Galaxy Heroes today, and I had my hunter guy playing with him, and it's always fun to mess around with some of those Bad Batch characters. I love them. The budget was 98 minutes long. Budget was 8.5 million. It made 68.3 at the box office. So yeah, so it got a lot of negative reviews. Obviously, it was the lowest grossing Star Wars film, but of course, it's animated. It's not gonna make as much, and it just being really kind of like a catapulting to an animated series. I don't think you could have expected it to do better than that. So it was kind of the pilot episode, really, for the animated series, which ended up being on Cartoon Network at the time. Obviously, if you've watched it, you don't need to know the plot. The plot is basically Jabba the Hutt's son getting kidnapped, and the whole side stories that are going on there with Zero the Hutt and everything else. So Saj Ventress makes a appearance in there as well, and yeah. So Yeah, so I mean, it honestly, I liked it very much. There was some partnership with licensing with Pepsi, Burger King, Kellogg's. I don't think I have any of that, honestly. The merchandise, again, I just wasn't too excited to get into collecting any of that stuff with the release of this. It just wasn't hitting me at the time. McDonald's had its first ever Happy Meal promotion for a Star Wars film, actually, and there was 18 exclusive toys that came out. So, and I really didn't get any of them. So, which was surprising because I've got a lot of the. I used to love to collect that kind of stuff. But there was a couple other like let's see here. We had some spin-off games and everything that were adapted to it. There was Lego Star Wars, Clone Wars, all sorts of other side productions with the Clone Wars as we went through. Um, and there was even some racing sponsorship as well. So um, I do have the 2 disc DVD. I think we brought that up. The 2 disc DVD that came out November 11th of the same year. And then, yeah, and then as stated before, it received a lot of negative reviews, getting 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, the approval rating, so very low. Average rating of 4.2 out of 10. So, mechanical animation, again, I wasn't too happy about the animation when I first saw it. Again, being stuck on the Genndy Tartakovsky micro series was big for me. So that whole change in animation was a little bit different. Um, so now on Cinema Score though, audiences give it a B minus, which isn't too bad, honestly. So um, yeah, but yeah, some of the animation, I was worried for the series just because of the animation. So it was not really my favorite when it came to that. So, but yeah. So Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I did watch it today again. I revisited it today. Um, yeah, and one of the first things I did this morning was throw that on. So, great movie. Kind of hard to find on Disney Plus though because they really don't throw it up there with in the timeline either. They don't even put it in there in the timeline. If you notice that on Disney Plus, they have the timeline order of the movies, and they put the Clone Wars animated series in there, but they don't put the Clone Wars movie in there. So kind of interesting that they don't do that. Inverse just published the above article. 15 years later, the biggest Star Wars flop is finally getting its due. What started as an experiment became the centerpiece of the franchise future. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Might have to check that article out. The movie was pretty good, but the animation seemed really angular, and I wasn't really fond of it. Yeah, I agree with you, Katie. That was the same thing with me. Obviously, the animation got a lot better as the Clone Wars went on. So, but yeah, the first whole season to me was kind of the same, and I really wasn't feeling it at first. But yeah, so that was a little bit today in Star Wars history. Just to kind of give you an idea of some other things that happened today in Star Wars history. 1979, Star Wars was released for a second time with the first trailer for The Empire Strikes Back. That run grossed more than $10 million. So about a year before Empire Strikes Back, that happened. That was the second time Star Wars was re-released. 1995, Tales of the Jedi: The Sith War 1: Edge of the Whirlwind was published as a comic book. If you were into that Tales of the Jedi, I was into those series. 2006, Boba Fett: A Practical Man was released. I have actually no idea what that is. Actually, I didn't even look that up honestly to see what that was. And in 2015, Lucasfilm announced that their first standalone Star Wars film, Rogue One, had begun principal photography today in 2015, as well as Chairman and CEO Bob Iger announcing that Star Wars themed lands will be coming to Disneyland and Disney's Hollywood Studios. So, yes, the announcement of Galaxy's Edge was today at D23, with the releases of when those lands would open, when they would start building them, kind of where they were going to be in the parks, and a little bit of what was going to happen. So, So yeah, that's another exciting announcement that was today. Let's see here. Yeah, Kurt agreeing with Katie, which I agree with as well. Katie saying it was much better in the later seasons. Totally agree. Kurt, Snips and Sky Guy references. You don't like them? I actually love them. I don't know. At first, it was annoying, but I loved it. I loved it later on, actually. I actually really liked it later on. So I don't know. The whole Snips and Sky Guy thing, I do like that. I don't know why you got that hate for that, Kurt. Um, yeah, best announcement ever, Galaxy's Edge. I mean, where else? I mean, I was already a Disney fan. I was already actually I was not working here yet. It was a year before I worked here. But I was really excited. Obviously, when I started working here, yeah, when I started working here, I mean, it was fun to just kind of be here through that whole process. So it was pretty amazing. Um, it was the best announcement. I agree. Get through those episodes by making the Snip Sky Guy references drinking game. Oh, I've never really looked to see like noticed how much, but you don't really notice how much it's said until you do something like that, do you? So I don't know. I'd be nervous to do that. Uh, but that might be a fun thing to do. That might be a fun thing to do. Not with what I'm drinking tonight, though. Definitely, unless it's just like a sip every time. But that could still. I have a feeling that could cause some trouble. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I don't know. That would be difficult. So anyway, enough of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Enough of Star Wars history. Let's talk about Ahsoka. Who's excited about Ahsoka? Ahsoka coming out next week, right? Ahsoka coming out, man. So I'm gonna actually switch cameras here because you don't really know. I don't like how that camera is like blurring my one good my good picture back there. And I know my other camera is not as good, but yeah, I want you to be able to see that picture behind me because right there, because I got Ahsoka behind me there, and I went through it, and I got my Ahsoka shirt on, right? You can't even see that with that other view, so I gotta switch my camera angles. I know this isn't as good of a camera, but just wanted to do that. Kurt passed out one night during season 1, episode 16. Japanese sake. Ooh, good pick, but man, yeah, that will load you up, right? I love myself some Japanese sake, man. I didn't know you were a sake fan. Um, if you're ever in Disney, let me know. We'll go to the sake bar at in the Japan Pavilion, um, or whatever. We'll go somewhere, get some sake. That'd be fun. Very excited. I'm a huge sake fan. Yay! Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Ahsoka. So excited, right? Watching the Essentials, getting you more. I've been watching the Essentials as well. Um, I mean, Ahsoka is just outstanding, and who would have known that this character that Dave Filoni kind of created would just become so iconic. And how can you not love her character? I mean, she's grown so much, and she's made so many different twists and turns in the way her character has developed, and how she's gone out on her own and really become what I think is the greatest Force user in Star Wars. Honestly, the one that understands the Force the most. I really truly almost believe that. Um, a prince. I didn't even know there was such a thing. A sake sommelier. Oh, liver problem. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess if you are drinking that much, I'm always worried about that, but I don't think I'm there yet. So we hope not, because I love my sake. I love my whiskey. Uh, I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I'd live without it. I'm not going to kill myself, but by continuing. But this is my stuff right here. Anyway, this is my stuff. Um, yeah. So originally, the name for the character was Ashla, which obviously, if you've read the Ahsoka novel, that's the alias that Ahsoka actually ends up going under eventually. Which I have my Ahsoka book somewhere. I couldn't find it, but I got that signed by Ashley. That is one of the amazing moments in history that I've actually got to meet her. And if you've ever seen Ashley's signature, as Ahsoka Tano. It's amazing. Now I just got to get Rosario to sign something. So genetic for many of us Japanese. I did not realize that. Did not realize that. That's interesting. Um, so that's something you learn something every day, right? That's a shame, but so yeah, so it was Ahsoka was gonna be part of the main story, and then George Lucas kind of was gonna shift it to Obi-Wan and Anakin, and really Ahsoka kind of came in to that as another way to explore Anakin's character and to bring in this new character. So we got backstory recently. Tales of the Jedi. Love that. I actually watched that today. Well, at least the one episode, the one Life and Death. I love that episode. I remember seeing that episode in Anaheim at Star Wars Celebration for the first time. That was the episode that Dave Filoni wanted everyone to see before it was released. So, and the beauty of that story, and kind of just learning a little bit about Ahsoka's backstory was fun to see. And then obviously we flash forward the Clone Wars, the movie, when she's 14 years old, when she shows up and is dispatched from the planet Christopsis and becomes Anakin's Padawan. Reluctantly, he doesn't really want to take her as a Padawan. But they develop this awesome friendship, and Master Padawan. It's so great to see their story develop. It's amazing, and the relationship that she gets with the clones, specifically Captain Rex, which it was so awesome to see that kind of just come back in Star Wars Rebels as well, with all of that. So Ahsoka taking her own path at one point in the Clone Wars when she gets framed and then she leaves the Jedi Order. Just something that you weren't expecting. Everybody was wondering what was going to happen to her character, because obviously we don't see her in the original trilogy, and we didn't really know what was going to happen, because obviously everybody's like, well, the Jedi all die at Order 66, so what happens to her character? Well, she's no longer a Jedi. She leaves the Jedi Order. So she renounces that and leaves. It takes a different path away from the Jedi Order, which is really awesome to see that story. And that's why season 5, I love how season 5 just ends in that way. We have the book that tells Ahsoka's story away, that she really just can't leave that path, with the Inquisitors still hunting her down, destroying people around her in those paths, which is unfortunate. And we see that as well in Tales of the Jedi, the later episodes, just that she just can't get away from her past with all those stories. So at the end of that one Tales of the Jedi episode, it was so cool to see her kind of tie into that fulcrum story with reaching out to Bail Organa and basically taking her next step in becoming a rebel, which is really awesome. Obviously, we didn't know that when we were watching Rebels. Who was Fulcrum? You didn't know at all. And then when that episode, when she comes climbing down that ladder in the Ghost, was awesome to see her show up back in the story again. And then that is basically when she comes face to face eventually with Anakin again as Darth Vader, with that showdown. And again, we didn't know, was Ahsoka alive? Was she dead? We didn't really see what happened after that duel. Everybody just thought that she was lost. But then in later episodes of Rebels, Ezra finds this world between worlds and pulls her out of time in that way, and then basically saves her, sends her back into her time, and then we really don't know what she's been doing really up until The Mandalorian, when we see her again in her search for Thrawn and Ezra. But maybe we'll get some idea in the Ahsoka series. We have feelings that there's going to be some flashbacks. There's very hard rumors that Anakin is going to be in it, in maybe some flashbacks. Some of these characters know Anakin, Baylan Skoll, so they know who Ahsoka is. Maybe we're going to get some backstory here of where she was during certain times, in the unknown regions, or perhaps looking for Ezra, looking for Thrawn, wherever that might have been to take her during that New Republic time, or the height of the Empire and the New Republic time. Rosario Dawson, I love her portrayal of Ahsoka, the Jedi, which is kind of odd that they named that episode the Jedi when she really kind of renounced her Jedi ways. But to Din Djarin, he was looking for a Jedi, so I think that's why they titled it that. But that episode was amazing, just to see her in live action and her fighting styles. And Rosario Dawson did such a great job. And then seeing her again in season 2, visit Ossus and visit Luke, which was really cool to see her and the conversations that she had. Just like kind of almost you wonder like some of the conversations that we didn't see with Ahsoka and Luke. Maybe telling him a little bit more about his father when he was at his peak as a Jedi Knight. I've always thought about that, just like some of the stories that she would have told. And I just love the kind of the similarities that she sees in Luke and Anakin, and kind of brings that forward in that conversation, which is really cool to be able to see that. But yeah, Ahsoka, as Pete had mentioned, as the essential episodes, there was, I mean, if you look on Disney Plus, you have a variety of episodes that are recommended for Ahsoka. Many, many, many different episodes are listed there as far as episodes to watch featuring Ahsoka. But there's 10 episodes that StarWars.com or 10 pieces of Ahsoka's story that StarWars.com recommends as far as Ahsoka's history to watch before Ahsoka. So maybe there's reasons why they picked these episodes. But Life and Death from Star Wars Tales of the Jedi being one of them, which is really interesting because little Ahsoka at that time, basically being born, and basically the first hints of her being Jedi, with the connection to the animals, which is really cool. The living force, the connections there, which we see that with her character in Rebels, especially. So maybe we're going to see a little bit more in depth of that in Ahsoka. Storm over Ryloth, which is actually what I was just watching, which is a really interesting episode because it's in season 1. It's season 1, episode 19. And that one was kind of just still showing like the immaturity of Ahsoka, her still growing, her learning, making mistakes, and the cost of those mistakes, because she was, basically commanding a squadron for the first time, and she fails. So basically, I love the morals of the Clone Wars episodes sometimes, especially with becoming in my role at Disney. I always look for examples of like leadership, and like this is one of my favorite episodes because sometimes you do have to fail to create a better part of yourself. And going back and watching like that episode, and knowing where Ahsoka ends up, she was learning from those mistakes, and I agree that that's a really essential episode to watch. Lightsaber Lost was another episode, which is a pretty good episode. Obviously, lightsaber that's one of those themes that kind of went all throughout Star Wars, with the lightsaber being a part of your life. And yeah, so Ahsoka loses her lightsaber in that episode, so it's kind of stressing. It's going into a deeper part of that story, and Ahsoka's journey through that, because we know Anakin went through that as well. So obviously they had to show some parallels there, and kind of what Anakin has learned, and now he's teaching his apprentice the same thing. So heroes on both sides. um, Padme and Ahsoka's relationship a little bit connected a little bit more here. And kind of getting a little bit of an idea of really who's right and who's wrong in this war that's going on. So a good one there. The Mortis arc is one of um, my favorite episodes or series of episodes in all of Star Wars, honestly. So I love that one. And Ahsoka's journey there was really cool because you get to see a foreshadow of Ahsoka as she sees an image of herself, um, or a vision of herself from the future, kind of communing with her in that way. And I love the fact that that actually is kind of how she looks in the future when we see her in Rebels. But the Mortis arc, Altar of Mortis, is definitely a fascinating look at the Jedi in general and the Force. Um, I think that the Mortis arc it really gets me excited about James Mangold's movie because that's one of the things where you just learn a little bit more of the mystical elements of the Force and where it came from. Um, and I think we're gonna dive into some of that stuff when we get into James Mangold's story when we start learning about the dawn of the Force, and maybe if that's part of it with the father, the daughter, the son, and that balance that needs to be kept, which I think is going to be a really big part of the Ahsoka series is that balance of the Force. How far do you go from one side to the other? There is both sides are important. Um, and there's not just leaning all the way towards one side or all the way towards the other. So I really do feel that one's going to be a big part of it. Ashlyn Bogan, yeah. So yeah, and that episode, the Altar of Mortis, you kind of get a little bit of dark Ahsoka, which again I feel that we're going to see Ahsoka go a little bit more kind of towards that line of darkness with the Force in this series. I just have this hint of it with especially with the logo being red. I think she's going to push her boundaries a little bit in her understanding of the Force. So, and again, one of my favorite episodes, and I mentioned this a couple last month, Padawan Lost, where Ahsoka is abducted by Trandoshans and put on the island to be hunted. So she doesn't again have her lightsaber again, but learning to work as a team with other Jedi and again lead in a way, and really focus on the hope that they can get off that island and work together. Um, this is where I really believe you see her really come to the fore as a leader and step it up. And I think this is a turning point for her character. She's coming into her own at this point. It's one of my favorite Ahsoka episodes, honestly. Um, which is yeah, so that's like one of my favorites, obviously. And then the Wrong Jedi, again, season 5, one of my favorite seasons of the Clone Wars, and the finale, the Wrong Jedi, that just walking away from the Jedi Order. Definitely an essential episode because this is the last time you see her as a Jedi in that episode, and the reasons why, the moral code that the Jedi have, and just she wants to follow her own convictions. You know how far, uh, not just what some creed says or what what some texts say about how you should live your life or which direction you should go, how you're feeling the direction, your gut instinct, your heart, you know what is right and wrong to you, and believing in that, and making your own decisions, um, and having to give up sometimes things and people that you love. Walking away from Anakin. I mean that shot of her walking away from Anakin. It just going back to the very beginning again and watching when they first met, and the reluctance of Anakin to keep her as a Padawan, to train her as a Jedi, and then him just trying to do and say everything to keep her from walking away, and she still makes that choice. It's heartbreaking, and it almost kind of gives a little bit of insight as to Anakin, with attachment. When you kind of carry that through into Revenge of the Sith, and he's already lost Ahsoka, and just kind of him taking that extra step not to lose Padme. He's already lost Ahsoka. He doesn't want to lose Padme. He's going to do anything to keep from losing her, which is his wife. So of course he's going to do that. He's already lost his Padawan. I think the biggest Benson and the biggest thing from that is she saw how deeply she believed in the Order, and they disappoint her when they let politics sway them. Yeah. So again, yeah, that connection with the what she thought the Jedi Order was, and just seeing them kind of connected too much with again this political entity, um, with the galaxy, and kind of just intertwining too much with that, and having those decisions sway what she believed that what the Jedi meant to her, and what she believed it to be, and what they've become being totally different. So yeah, I agree with that. Because again, I feel the Jedi in the prequel trilogy was just way off base. I don't think that obviously that's again one of the reasons why I want to go back. I want to see this history of the Force, and really see the true balance of the Force, and where, if we ever get these stories told, like how the Jedi began, how the Sith began. I know we've had them before, but I really would love it expanded upon in live action and animation, whatever it might be, to give us an understanding of where the disillusions came from. That you had to full on go one direction or the other. The story of the lost parents gives her a different point of view on the actions of the Jedi. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah, that's a great point. And then season 7, um, the Siege of Mandalore arc, which is super powerful, super powerful. I love that we got to watch this in Anaheim on the big screen as a big, huge Star Wars fans family in that stadium, of the convention center. It was so cool to see that on a big screen. That was amazing. That Siege of Mandalore arc just feels like a movie. I had a feeling that if they would have released that in the theaters as a 3-part, just melded all 3 of them together, those episodes, I think that would have done crazy good at the box office. Katie mentioning disappointed and hurt her, especially since they seem to believe in her mind that she could have killed another Padawan, right? Yeah, I know, especially with everything that she had done, everything that she had done for throughout the war, with everybody that trusted her, and just almost everyone kind of turning their back on her and feeling that she could have been this traitor. Um, yeah, she lost her faith. They lost their trust in her, and she lost her faith in them. So it's that easy to have that break. So, but yeah, the Siege of Mandalore arc is a masterpiece in my opinion. As far as season 7, uh, that is the best part of season 7. Um, Battling Maul, defeating Maul, which is awesome. Just seeing the parallels of what's going on in those episodes and knowing that some of the same things that are happening, you're seeing like the opposite side of it in Revenge of the Sith. You're just missing conversations that you're seeing that are happening in Revenge of the Sith at the same time, which is so awesome to be able to see that. It just ties it together so well. And being able to save Rex, and then also when you go back now and you watch that Tales from the Jedi episode, you see Anakin just like training with her, basically getting her ready for that Order 66. Like he knew it was coming. And her saving Rex and herself and then disappearing again. Which is really awesome. And then that scene of Vader showing up at the Star Destroyer, or not the Star Destroyer, but the clone shuttle, and in the snow and finding the lightsabers. Just it's so hits you so hard. It does. And that was it from the Clone Wars. And then obviously coming back as Fulcrum in Rebels, and then again facing Vader again. Facing Vader for the first time, but seeing Anakin again, facing Anakin again, and realizing who Vader was. And I loved kind of the announcement of that. I remember Star Wars Celebration Chicago, when Dave Filoni came out with the Ahsoka Lives ? Shirt. And then later on, after the trailer for Rebels came out, as they showed the trailer, he walked off stage and then came back on, and Ahsoka Lives with the exclamation point, which was really awesome because everybody was wondering what was going to happen with that. Oh no, and that was actually Celebration Orlando. That was 2017. Yeah. So, yeah, I forgot. Yeah. I remember which room I was in, actually upstairs. The secondary stage. I was in the secondary stage, or was I in the live room? I wasn't alive for that room. I wasn't a live one for that room, I think. I think I was. I think I wasn't a live one for that one. But yeah, it was so amazing to see that she was coming back, and knowing that she was back in the fight. She was back as she's a rebel now, and we really see her maturity after all those years. Again, on her own, coming in. She is now no longer a Padawan. She's not a full-fledged Jedi because she gave up the order, but she's definitely a leader at that point in time. So really, really amazing episode. And then the Jedi returning now in live action in The Mandalorian, a key episode leading up to Ahsoka, because we get an idea of where she is now, what her mission is, and it's a great way to get introduced to her character and what she's like currently. If you can't watch anything else, watch the Jedi episode. First portrayal of Ahsoka by Rosario Dawson, who I believe does an amazing job. There's a little kind of trailer with Rosario kind of narrating it that was just released on social media and StarWars.com, which is it's really amazing. Just kind of seeing her path or her history with Star Wars growing up, and how it kind of molded her, and how now she gets to give back, playing Ahsoka and being in a Star. I mean, just how all of us, I think, would feel, really, that have grown up with Star Wars. I know it's how I feel. I can't even imagine if I was ever in. I mean, I kind of feel that way a little bit working on the Star Cruiser, but I can't even imagine taking that next level step. Even if I was an extra in a movie or a series or something, it would be that next level dream come true, which would be would blow my mind. Who knows if that ever would happen? I doubt it very much, but you believe, you keep dreaming, right? You keep dreaming. Katie disappointed her especially. Oh, yep, yeah, I read that comment. Okay. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything, any comments. But yeah, so and then we get like kind of that glimpse that she's still searching for Thrawn. Uh, Morgan Elsbeth, she has that duel with her at the end, um, questioning where is Thrawn at that moment. So um, yeah, so I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope everybody else is excited about Ahsoka. Um, just again, some ideas of what I think it's going to be. I mean, if you watched there was another trailer that was released. Trick, Trick was it, you can see that on StarWars.com. I haven't seen it really anywhere on social media or in any advertisements on any shows. But Trick was another trailer that actually shows a little bit more of Ahsoka training Sabine with lightsaber training sabers actually, which is really cool. It almost felt like you're watching a behind the scenes episode as they're like doing their saber training, but it's part of the episode as she's kind of training her in dueling, which is we've never really seen that before. So that's pretty awesome. Every time you usually see anybody training, they're actually training with real lightsabers. So it was really neat to be able to see that. Um, yeah, there's a couple of new shots in that one, but nothing major. Just kind of adjustments of things, how they reshot some things and re-edited some scenes throughout to give us an idea of a different perspective maybe on the series. But Disney, Lucasfilm, they're not going to give away too much. Probably everything that we've seen in the trailers is probably in the first 2 to 3 episodes. So, and we're going to get both of those, the first 2 episodes next week, as they both drop the same time. So I don't know how long the runtime is going to be. I haven't really looked into that at all, but I am super excited. Again, curious to find out the backstory of Baylan Skull, his connections to Anakin. Obviously, new Anakin. Is his name somebody else? Is he somebody else that we already know from the past? Maybe he's a different character, older, that we don't know, that's changed his name. Usually when people choose a different path, they may have changed their name in some way or another. And maybe he'll say that he used to go by this name, and we'll all kind of shock and awe realize who he was. Um, I just have that feeling that might happen. It's nice to see Sabine. It's nice to see Hera. I'm curious if Zeb's going to make his way into the story at any point. We saw him for a little bit in The Mandalorian. It'd be interesting to see if he comes into play. We've seen a little bit of Chopper. I hope we get a lot of Chopper. We've seen a little bit of Chopper. And are we going to get any more of Ezra? There's a couple. There was one scene in one of the trailers where you see Thrawn and you look kind of behind him on the left, and it looked like the helmet that Ezra used to wear when in the first season of Rebels. And if anybody spotted it, you may not have spotted it, but it was that helmet. So don't know if that was Ezra back there or it was somebody else, but it definitely was that helmet. Definitely was that helmet. So we got Purgle, which is really awesome to see. So we got a glimpse of them in The Mandalorian, so we know they're out there. It was a nice little Easter egg to see them as they were going through hyperspace. But yeah, and the world between worlds. What are we gonna do? Are we gonna do time travel here? Are we gonna get some more of that? We'll have to see what happens. But Ahsoka next week, August 23rd. August 23rd. Super excited. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and call that an episode. Thank you all for joining. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, Katie. Appreciate it. Thank you all for watching later if you do. Please like this podcast. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Again, I do this every Tuesday. for the most part. And like it, share it with others. Hopefully you keep enjoying this. One day I'm going to work on making this a little bit more, I don't know, more people. Yeah, I gotta get some guests. Honestly, it kind of fell through. I was gonna do that a little while back, and um, it's just hard to get people scheduled to do this kind of stuff. And yeah, but anyway, Ahsoka coming out. Super excited about that. Can't wait to a pre-Ahsoka next week's episode. Pre-Ahsoka episode. Um, and I think I'm going to do a crucial character next week as well. So we'll talk about that as well from Return of the Jedi. Crucial character from Return of the Jedi. So until I do my Today in Star Wars, which I do on Instagram. So follow me on Instagram if you don't already. I do that usually every afternoon, which won't do one tomorrow probably, but Thursday. So follow me on Instagram. Follow me here. Subscribe to this channel. Like these videos. Get the word out. I'd love to have more people. I love the comments coming in. It's great. Love Star Wars discussion. It's awesome. Until next time, watch some Star Wars, preferably Ahsoka Essential episodes. Get ready for Ahsoka. Watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, read some Star Wars, maybe even read Ahsoka. Play some Star Wars. Do something Star Wars. But most importantly, whatever you're doing, may the stars light your way. Thank you. Have a great night.